Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today we are doing part 2 of my Ocean Junk Journal pages, which I am doing for a swap. If you haven't already watched my first video where I did the first 2 pages, I suggest you go and do that. It explains everything, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But if you want to catch up on that or a ton of other junk journal ideas and flip throughs, if you go to my playlist Creative Collab Journal, they're all there. So to make this video a little bit quicker, I have already prepped all my pieces, as in I've cut them to size, I've inked the edges. This time I used brushed corduroy. I find it has a tiny little hint of orange, and all of this stuff is from the Stamperia Songs of the Sea collection, which I've had in my stash for a little while, and it's sort of vintage steampunky style arrangement, and this sort of almost rusty color is one of the best I have in my collection that I thought matched all of this. The other thing I did do, for example, with this one, I got a little gold ink pad. Now, this particular one's the first one I grabbed. It's just a copy of the Dewdrops ink pads that I got off, I think Temu or AliExpress ages ago. And what you do is, because they have this nice little point shape, you can nicely go around the edges. So I've highlighted this one with some gold. Very straightforward stuff though, nothing too dramatic here. The other 2 things I prepped, first of all, this was a piece of, hang on, where's the actual roll? I've just got a roll of this cord, but that looked a little bit too white to me. So I just grabbed a piece of leftover packaging that was about to go in the bin, and I popped this down and I sprayed it with coffee spray. I always have this handy if you want to instantly vintage something. A few sprays or dobs of coffee does the job, and it just sort of made it look a little bit not quite so new, probably a little bit too white on the back, but honestly we're not going to stress about that. And the other thing I did, this is a bag that oranges come in. You buy, I think, 5 oranges, comes in this bag, and it's this, you can't really see it, but a bright orange color. So I grabbed my Jo Sonja Rich Gold and a stenciling brush, and I just popped it down, and it's turned out this lovely sort of goldy coppery color. And yeah, that turned out really nicely. So instead of throwing those bags out, I just wanted this to look like a little bit of net, fishing net, and I think that turned out really lovely. So just to make things easier, all these bits are done. Now all we have to do is put it together. So let me just push this to the side for the moment. So what we have to start with is a piece of cardstock, and I suggest cardstock, not paper that's too thin, because the way this is made, it's glued together. It's put onto a 3-ring binder, so you want something with a little bit of substance. Now, this is not the thickest of cardstocks, this Stamperia, but it's perfectly acceptable for what I need. This measures 8 inches by 7.5 inches, and we've simply folded it in half, and I have inked all around the edges. So the first thing we're going to do is this side. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, this area down here, we want to keep free of too much decoration or thickness, because we need to be able to punch holes in there for the binder rings. So we are making a pocket, but any deco that I put on it, I'm trying to keep over to this side. So this is a very simple pocket. It is 7.5 inches down, and it is 4 inches across. I was going to trim mine down a bit, but then I realized it doesn't matter that it comes right up to the edge, because it's going to get folded that way and things will slide in and out. So I've done exactly as it said. Then you go in 1 inch, make a mark on each side, and then from the very center you go no, it's, oh, hang on, where's my little things? You go down 1.5 inches, yes, and then you simply cut this V out to make this pocket shape. You can make a rounded one if you prefer, but honestly, this is the guidelines we're using, so that's what I've done. Now, I just need, that's a good question. Where is my glue? Ah, it's hiding. Here we go. So all we're going to do, this one's easy. It's obvious where I don't want to put glue because I have a cut in it. So we're just going to get some glue out. Oh dear, is this clogged? Yep, I'll be back in a moment. I need to unclog my glue. All right, I keep a pin in a champagne cork on my desk because honestly these things clog up so easily if you don't put the lid back on them straight away after you've used them. I don't know whether that's just here because it's so warm where I live. I'm not sure, but honestly it drives me nuts, but never mind. And usually before I do a video I check that it's unclogged, but of course I forgot to do that today. But never mind, we have solved the dilemma. And it only happens occasionally, usually when I'm doing videos and then I forget to put my little cap on. I find here, all the pins I've got must not be actual stainless steel because they all rust if I leave a pin in there. So I need to actually track down some stainless steel ones because then they should not rust, but obviously mine are all cheapy ones and they're useless. So we're just gluing our pocket down. Then we're going to add a little bit of decoration to it. I cut out this gorgeous ship and I have inked the edge and I'm just going to pop this down, keeping the decoration pretty light on this. I found with this kit, even though I adore it, everything is very blue and brown. There's not a lot of contrasting things. So it was a little bit hard to find things that I thought stood out as much as I would like, but that's okay. I thought this ship heading out on a discovery would look rather cute. And then they had this one here, which I fussy cut out. Sea Adventure seems appropriate for a ship heading out to go discovering and find riches. So we're just putting a little bit of glue all around. Voila. So keeping these very simple and trying to keep away where I can from. I know I've gone a tiny bit over, but look, it depends where you put your 3 rings. In this case, there's a very good chance this bit mightn't be included. But if it is, oh well, too bad. Too sad. Now, we need a journaling card. So I have created this one, and we need 2 journaling cards, but I've made them both the same size. So that's 6.5 inches by 3 1/4. And this looks very seabeddy to me. So I thought that's sort of what we would go with. I'll just push this aside just for a moment. Now, one delightful piece that is in this collection was this beautiful red. Oh, now hang on, which way do I want it? Because it's double. No, I think we'll go that way. Yes. This beautiful red coral, or I don't know if it is coral because it looks like it's got those little sucker holes, but either way. And then there's this cute fish. And what I did the same thing with the gold, but I actually even put a little bit on this fishy's fins and things. So I think we'll put the fish down first, and then we'll put the coral or an anemone or a anemone or whatever it actually is. It doesn't matter, but at least it's red. It was a nice bit of contrast. I liked that. So we're going to stick Mr. Fish on there, and then we'll add some glue, just little bits. This is just a journaling card, so these bits will not be under pressure. I don't have to be panicking that we get every tiny little bit down perfectly, because it's just decoration. And because this is cardstock, I just tend to use glue instead of glue stick. And we're just going to pop that down there. Don't want to hide too much. Still want to see these cute little bits. There we go. And then I want to put a tab on it. So I got my die cut machine out and I found this little piece here, which of course I have already inked. And what I'm going to do, I actually prefer to cut the, instead of putting them on like this, I actually prefer to cut mine and then have the rounded bit at the top. So that's what we're going to do. And I've just realized I need to ink these two ends, because otherwise that's going to look a bit odd, isn't it? So I'll just put a tiny bit on there, just so that it all matches. Done. Now, what I did do, because there was very heavy decoration on the back side of all these papers, I wanted it to be more like a journaling card. So I've grabbed the old grocery bag and glued these to the grocery bag. I find this, I love this colour. So if anything's sort of a bit vintagey, I just adore this colour for vintage things, and you don't have to do anything except glue it down. Just, of course, when you make sure you glue it down with the branding where it's printed goes onto the underside of this. That way you end up with a nice clean sheet. And I'm just going to grab my ruler here, because I want roughly, I want my center spot. So I need 3 1/4 roughly, just so I get this relatively central. I don't often go mad about measuring things, but this one would annoy me if it wasn't. Unless you do it completely skew-if. And then we're just roughly popping that down there. If it's not 100% perfect, that's okay. Then we're going to do exactly the same with this piece. Just grabbing my tweezers to help me get this down and line it up. There we go. And we now have a tab. And I picked this lighter background just to provide a little bit of contrast. Actually gets a bit hard, I've noticed, with this kit to do the contrasty thing. I sort of had to really go searching through all the pieces. But that's very cute, and that is our journaling card for this side. I'm just going to let this dry though before I put it in there. Now we get on to the next bit, and what we need, the first thing we have to start with is two, let me just move this out of the way so you can see, 2 rectangles. And as you can see, I have cut these pieces away. I just cut one and then I used that one to cut, oh, I can't pick this up with my fingernails, to cut all the others so they were even. Now, these tabs are 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches, okay? Now, the one thing you have to consider though, before you fold over the bottom or the top, if you have a directional pattern, make sure you plan accordingly to keep it. I think this will look nicer if your directional pattern matches. So these are like mermaid scales or fish scales. So I always like mine to be pointing downwards. Some people, for some reason, do them that way, but I don't. I like them that way. So what we've done, we've just folded this over. I've inked all the edges because what we're doing is we are adding 2 flaps. Okay, but before I glue them down, I also want to add some tabs to these. Okay, I've made these 2 here. Again, gone with that lighter background, but I'm going to do these this way, just for something different. We'll keep them the way they're meant to be. And we're just going to glue these down. Now, try and sort of get that relatively central, maybe up a little bit. That's the first one. The same for over here. Here we go. That was a pretty good guess with my corners. Actually turns out almost the perfect width for these tabs. I didn't mean to do that, and it certainly wouldn't matter if yours did not do the same. Okay, so now we have our 2 tabs and we need to attach them, but maybe before we do that might be just easier physically if we add our little eyelets, because we're going to tie these together. So let's see, I want the bigger one. We're just going to add a little hole here. Then add our eyelet. I always find doing these things a little ungainly, but that's okay. There we go, one eyelet done. Now we do the other one. Now I should have actually measured how deep in I went with this, but I didn't, but that's okay, honestly. I think we'll be okay. And where's my other little, oh, there it is. You don't have to put these on if you don't have a crocodile and eyelets or any form of eyelet machine. This will work out perfectly fine if you don't do this part of it, but obviously it does make it quite strong. You also don't have to use a tab. You could just put your hole directly onto this part, but what I would do if you did that was consider maybe putting another little piece under here to give it some strength, or a reinforcement ring. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine, but you know, you'd hate to accidentally tear what you've done. So now we need to attach these, and again, I have to be conscious that I keep my directions correct. So this is definitely the top one. So all we're going to do here is just add glue along the edge here. And again, because I want to try and keep this bit clear of deco, and I also like sort of the pattern that's printed on there, I'm going to put these on relatively close to the edge. I'm certainly not going to put them in the center. I could, but I don't want to, because I sort of want to keep that there. I think that's visually pleasing. And there's that one down. And then we're going to do exactly the same with this one, except again, just making sure of course I've got it right. I've got the other one already down, so I don't have a choice there, do I now? There we go. Add some glue on there and glue this down. And we're going to try and get them relatively even. Tiniest bit more. Now, just in case you're new around here, my favourite glue for doing all these sort of things is Helmer Tiger Grip. In Australia, we can buy it in Spotlight in all the cheap shops. This is my favourite glue because it goes on white, it dries completely clear. You can do fabric, carpet, plastic, wood, anything with this glue, but it also gives you just a few minutes it dries pretty quickly, but you get enough time to wiggle things around. So to me, that's very important. So we're just going to, oh, got a bit of glue on there. Just let me pop this aside. We're going to make our journaling card, then I'll come back and decorate that a little bit. Just let that dry and solidify. So here's the base of my next journaling card. I've done exactly the same thing. That's shopping bag on the back there. And I have this beautiful mermaid from the kit. So we're definitely adding a mermaid. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the mermaid down the bottom so that when this is all put together, you should get a glimpse of her face through the center of this. You'll see what I mean shortly. So we're putting her nice and down low. There we go. She's beautiful. The camera probably doesn't pick this up, but with this die cut, she's actually got like a bit of gold shimmer on her. She's absolutely delightful. Then, of course, we have the mermaid sign, which is just a fussy cut, which I did. And we're just going to pop that up the top. Perfect. Okay, so there is our journaling card. And can you see? You can catch a glimpse of her face if you place that in the right location. And we are going to tie this together now. That's why I have just used this string. I thought for a nautical inspired piece, this is perfect. But you can pick whatever you like, just depending on what theme you decide to make this with. And I've been quite generous in allowing how long it is. I might trim some of this off shortly. And just hold this down, just like wrapping a present. Ah, and I let go too soon. Hang on. I hate tying present bows. I really do. They're not my favouriteest thing. There we go. That's better. All right. So, yes, I think I have left this a little too long. So how about we just trim that off a bit. Perfect. And we now have a little bit of decoration just to fancy this bit up a bit. I have this very cute, what are these things called? Yep, one of those. Telescope. I think this is what you would call this. And we're going to place that on here. And I've just realised I've probably added a bit too much glue to this. So what I'm going to do, hang on a minute. We're going to grab our trusty baking paper before I really press this down. So when you fear you may have overdone it with the glue, put a piece of baking paper down, and that way you can press it all down, and if it does slightly stick, it comes away very easily from the baking paper. See, it has stuck slightly, and then all you do is gently pull it away. I think I can get rid of this now because this doesn't sit super flat. So we might have to try and tie that just a little bit tighter. Then I want to add this cute bit of homemade sea net, fishing net down. So I'll just gently put some glue all over here. And of course, you know, some of it will stick, enough for what I need. Then of course that will dry completely clear. So you don't have to worry if you add a bit too much. Just leave that to dry. Then I also have this cute shell, which we're going to pop on as well. Right right down there, and then just press that nice and firmly. And then again, leave that for a few minutes and that will dry absolutely solid. That's why I love this glue. And then I have one more tiny little bit. Now that this is dry, I want to add a cute little charm to this thing, but I need my pokey tool. Hang on a minute, I forgot to grab that. Okay, I'm back. I have found my pokey tool. It was trying to hide from me, but it was not successful. I find this the easiest way to add a smallish hole to something. So we're just going to pop that through. And I have a cute little starfish and a bulb pin. Now, unfortunately, I can't find a gold bulb pin at this moment. I'm going to have to rummage through my stash a little further. I have found this vintage coloured one. Would have preferred a gold one just so that they match. But if I can't find one, I'm just going to have to order some. I must have used them all up. And we're just going to attach a cute little starfish charm. So now we put this together. We can add this into our pocket. And we have this bit here. I am not happy that this is not tight enough. So after we've finished here, I will tighten that right down to help hold this journaling card in place. And then the last thing we have to do is flip this over, and I have to glue this together. Now, I had a thought, if you were wanting to make something like this, there is no reason why you couldn't just do this as 2 individual pages and put them in front first. They don't have to be done like this. This is just how we're doing it because it's the directions we've been given and it's how we're going to make this journal all come together. But this would work really well as 2 individual pages. So here's our piece all finished. It looks really cool. I love the little dangle with our journal card. Thrown a little bonus one in here as well. Love it. And there's the other side. And if you push the journaling card down to the bottom, I definitely get to see my little mermaid perfectly. And that tends to help hold it in place. So there's that one. And of course, in the previous video, this is the one I made. So they're quite different in decorations, oops, it's upside down, in style, but they are definitely both ocean themed. So I hope my swap partner will love them. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments box below or just let me know what you think. And if you can just take a second to hit the thumbs up or like button, I would really appreciate that. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.